All right, y'all, what's going on? It's Combo Breaker 99. I am back with another video. All right, y'all, shout out to my man Kareem Spirit Works. He asked if I could do a video on this topic. He wanted to know my thoughts on this little piece of news that's been making this buzz around the MMA community. Like I told him, I saw like one article on it. I didn't really pay it no mind, so I had to go back and kind of read through it and just read through a few articles and see what the whole truth was about this potential return of the former bantamweight champion Ronda Rousey was, see what the whole thing was about it. And it doesn't really seem like there's a lot going on with it. It just seems like the UFC analyst John Anik kind of like gave his take on why it would be the perfect time for her to come back right now. And I think a lot of people have just been running with it, and they've been doing a lot of articles, and I've been hearing some other, videos about it. So, I just wanted to jump on and kind of give my thoughts because, it does pertain to Ronda Rousey, who was one of the pioneers, one of the biggest stars, if not the biggest star in WMMA, right? And a possibility of her coming back needs to be addressed, even if it is kind of false, which I think it is to a certain extent, because like I said, I haven't heard anybody outside of John Anik mention it. I haven't heard Dana talk about it. If y'all have, send me the article because I haven't seen it. Same is if it goes from Mick Maynard or any of the matchmakers, or even Ronda Rousey herself. Like, I haven't heard anything from her. So if y'all seen that, let me know. But when it comes down to it, John Anik, I think he was just kind of giving his take on why it would be the perfect time for her to come back, right now. But at the same time, he feels like it's only if she's competitive, and she would have to work her way back to the top, which is how I felt, and a lot of hardcore fans are going to feel. But at the same time, I don't really see Ronda Rousey really showing any interest now, that Amanda Nunes has retired. It seems like now that she's retired, everybody kind of been licking their chops and wanting to move up and fight for that belt. So I guess he was just kind of throwing that name out there because, she was the star of that division. And with the state of the bantamweight division, they're kind of in need of, that jump start again, which is why I think they signed like 6 or 7 new bantamweights, which is smart. I think all divisions, whether it be boxing or MMA, they're going to go through like transition periods where there's a dry time. We can't just count it out and say, oh, it's dead now. No, like you have to give it its time to run its course, to find, a new talent and somebody that has skills, right? And that's with the time, right? So jumping back to Ronda Rousey, that wouldn't necessarily be a wise idea if she's bringing the same thing that she was before, because the Ronda Rousey of then was for then, right? I believe she does have the star power name, but she definitely doesn't have the tools now to hold her own in the division, even in this state, right? But just looking through an article here with John Anik, this is pretty much a couple of his quotes that he had said. He said, if there was ever, hold on, let me go all the way back to the top. Okay. He said, if anyone is worthy of that time of opportunity, it's probably Ronda Rousey. And I do believe she would be competitive because she would not enter that setting without the guarantee that she would be competitive. All right. So from that, he wants to see her work her way back to the top. This ain't a shock value thing. He wants to see her have that hunger in her eyes, because everybody knows, look, WWE is a physical, it's a physical form of entertainment. All right. It's a form of physical entertainment. It's taxing on your body, but it's not MMA, right? You have to come back to MMA with a game plan, with some type of fire in you and ready to take those hits, right? So she's going to have to come back more so competitive. WWE is scripted, everything is worked out. Of course, you still have to be in some type of physical shape and some type of athlete, but when it comes down to it, you still have some leeway there, right? You're not going to be taking blows to the head for consecutive amount of rounds, for a consecutive amount of time. I mean, you might hit your head on the canvas and so on, but you're not going to be taking punches consistently, as you would in MMA. So she'd have to be in somewhat of a competitive state, right? So he said, if there was ever a time, you're right, it would absolutely be now. And I'm not going to sit here and say she'd be better and favored against Pena or Rocky Pennington, because I can understand why people would be excited at the possibility. But when it comes down to it, it'd be a tough sell, because, the hardcore fans know that It takes a lot to be in this sport. And even though a fighter like Rocky Pennington or Pena, they don't really carry star power, or like Amara Buena Silva, they don't carry that star power. They're putting in the work right now. They're in the division. They are what's current. So you can't just jump ahead of those fighters based off of your name, right? And it wouldn't be smart jumping in there based off of your name because you could really get hurt, right? So even he knows that it's more about timing, but she would have to be in a state of competitiveness. And like I said, I haven't really seen anything going on. Ronda Rousey, any updates? I haven't heard her speak on it. It's more so, I think, just people kind of reaching a little bit and just wanting to say, okay, this is what could happen now. This is what's really needed. So basically, he's saying they need a star, right? And it's not her right now because I don't think she could bring back that form of Ronda Rousey. So there was just a few questions I had from it that I was going to answer for Kareem. In my opinion, the question is now the right time for Ronda Rousey to come back. I would say yes and no, pretty much like John Anik. I would say yes because 135 needs a star. They need that type of a personality to bring some fire back to the bantamweight division and the WMMA, right? They need somebody like that to kind of get everybody hyped up again, get everybody inspired, like bring in a new crop of women that are inspired, like some of the ones you always hear say, oh, I grew up watching Ronda. I grew up watching Ronda, right? They need somebody with that type of fire and that type of story again that's going to put some light into the bantamweight division because the bantamweight division is going through a transition, but there are a lot of people leaving because it. Who knows if they'll come back when it gets to a certain peak point again, right? So yeah, I see where he's coming from there. Now would be the right time in that perspective, but no, because she's not ready for it. She's not that competitive fighter anymore. She's doing the scripted form of entertainment in WWE, even though WWE and UFC are joined, they're two separate companies. Even the hardcore MMA fans, they don't want to see any of the WWE antics, which even though we do with some of the scripted scorecards out here, right? Even though we see some of that, they don't want to see that type of entertainment blended in with the UFC, right? So knowing that aspect of Ronda Rousey coming back because no, like she's just not showing that interest. She doesn't really seem like she wants to. I mean, she didn't leave on the best note. It wasn't like she left because she was just tired of the sport. It was more so, or she was bored, like Amanda. Amanda's been there and done that and leaving on a good note. Ronda left because, she was mentally defeated, and she suffered 2 back-to-back losses and just couldn't bounce back from them. It's been 7 years since she's been in the octagon, 7 years since the Holly Holm loss. Then a year later, she fought Amanda Nunes, brutally knocked out, right? So when a fighter leaves in that fashion, doesn't really say that, okay, now's the right time for somebody to come back 7 years, even though they were dominant, right? Even though they had this dominant period, but they left on a bad note, right? So it's like a yes and no thing. Like it's more no, but yes, because they need somebody right now to kind of bring that juice back to 135. And the other question I have is, has she been training? Has she been training? And if so, is it enough to compete with even the fighters in the bantamweight division now? So has she been training? Who knows? I mean, from what I've been seeing, no. Like, I don't think she's been training for MMA. Like, I haven't seen her doing any, like, posts. Like, I haven't seen any posts been hitting, like, the MMA pages. Like, oh, breaking news. Ronda Rousey out here rolling again. Or, oh, she's got a new boxing coach. She's in there, with the gloves on now, 4-ounce gloves. And she's in there, getting some sparring rounds in. Oh, she's got so-and-so in the camp. And they're working on her wrestling. Like, you haven't seen any of them type of posts out there, right? So to say she has been training for a possible comeback or even bring her name up now, I don't think so, And like I said, if so, is it enough to compete with the girls now? I wouldn't think so. I wouldn't think so because even the top 5 right now would give Ronda Rousey some trouble because a lot of these girls have already settled into trying their best to be multi-dimensional, to have more than one weapon, right? They don't just depend on one thing. A lot of these girls are in there getting their behinds kicked, whether it be in boxing or Muay Thai, and they're rolling with a lot of men out there. And These are some big girls now that are really starting to know how to throw their weight around. There are a lot of girls out here that fighting with intensity in this division. Even like Myra Buena Silva, like if you look at her now at 135, this girl is throwing some of the hardest strikes. Granted, like if Ronda Rousey maybe like tip top shape, she could probably like catch Myra Buena Silva, as far as in the situation where she could take her down. But Myra Buena Silva's jiu-jitsu is underrated to some of these people, right? So she could possibly get submitted by even her. Rocky Pennington, she's been in the game a minute now. She's on a 5-fight win streak. And though she was dominated by Amanda Nunes, her style and her skill set right now could probably beat Ronda Rousey if she doesn't have that competitive nature, or if she's not complete enough to, compete with this evolved form of WMMA now, So fighters like that, somebody like Holly Holm could still beat her, because she still has that size, and, she's been getting better with her wrestling, right? So there's just a lot of different things, that you have to look at as far as like saying, okay, she's ready, this is her time. Like you have to look at the training. And like I said, even with the training, like, is she connecting all those points back together? Like, had the past 7 years, has she done any of those other disciplines? No, like we haven't seen her take on, any like amateur boxing or try to go the professional boxing route. She hasn't done any of that. You haven't seen her out at Tiger Muay Thai or something. You haven't seen her fly to Thailand or anything like that. She's just been doing WWE, right? So with all those things, I have to say, yeah, no, it's not the right time for a fighter like her to come back, or it wouldn't be wise for her to come back. So the ultimate answer to the last question, do I want to see her come back? No. Personally, I don't really want to see her come back. I mean, it would lighten a lot of people's eyes. It would brighten a lot of people's day who were brought into the sport by Ronda Rousey into WMMA. And I would definitely watch the event, but me personally, I wouldn't want to see her come back just because, with her being gone for 7 years, I think that, the game has left her behind. And with her not really still staying in the sport or any other type of discipline, hardcore, or even like training and sparring or anything like that, I don't really want to see her dive back into a pool of hungry sharks. Even with these fighters today, like Juliana Pena, Juliana Pena is still a gritty fighter, and you can't just go in there and do one thing to her. She still is a dangerous fighter, even for Ronda Rousey at this point. Juliana Pena will light up at the fact of her coming back, because then she could really just put that name on her resume, and it would just, she knows it would be like the biggest fight of her career, because Ronda Rousey, even though she's been gone 7 years, we know it would sell, right? And we don't want to see her just come back and be a punching dummy or punching bag for one of these fighters right now, right? We want to see her come back with a skill set, a newfound skill set, new trainers and everything, right? So, yeah, no, I wouldn't want to see her come back. It would just be brutal. It would be a third brutal loss in a row. And at this point, I don't think her mind is ready for that, just ready for that anymore. And I mean, the older you get, like, who really wants to, the older you get, and when you've been out this long, who really wants to just go back in there and take punches to the face, or just, go in there and possibly get choked out, when you're already in your 30s or pushing almost 40, right? She's done. She's just done with it now. Just remember her for what she was. Maybe she could coach another fighter or bring up another Ronda Rousey, or maybe the division, like I said, when it goes through its transition, they could just find a new start at this point. But yeah, if she was to come back, nah, I wouldn't want to. Or if their talk was really starting to stir, I really wouldn't want to see it. But yeah, I'll definitely tune in, because hey, that's her choice, and I want to see what she could do, just like anybody else. I want to see if she had grown at it, right? So I hope that answered your question. Shout out to Kareem Spears' work again. Like I said, I didn't want to make it too long of a video, but I don't really talk about Ronda that much over here. And, just to kind of open people's eyes that are really thinking this is possible, they just have to take all of these things into consideration. You have to look at what's going on with the other women in the division, and you have to look at Ronda Rousey to see if she has that hunger. Will she be able to add multiple dimensions in her game to make a comeback, even to fight her way back up? Nah, because she probably take an L on the way up, like to an Aldana, whoever, or anybody in the division at this point. So yeah, guys, that's all I got on this one. I just wanted to drop that for him, and like I said, kind of open my eyes up again to just see what Ronda's been doing. I had to do a little research. Like I said, don't see her making a comeback anytime soon. So let me know what y'all think in the comment section. Combo Breaker 99. I'm out. Subscribe. Peace. Oh yeah, and this one thought right here just popped in my head right before I go. I just wanted to bring this up now. Wouldn't it be interesting though, like if Ronda Rousey had just like retired, like say she took one L and she did come back and fight a couple more times and got a couple of W's, and then she did retire. You know, like let's say that she did like add a few more dimensions to her game and she did retire. What if she did come back and like wanted to take on like Valentina Shevchenko at like 135? You know, that would be an interesting fight. That's just an interesting thought right there, because I would like to see like a somewhat improved Ronda Rousey versus Valentina Shevchenko at 135. Just a thought. I'm out.